Hi everyone. I want to do a quick video on merchant fees, part of the week 7 stuff. There'll be two scenarios for the assignment for this week, but they're both handled the same exact way. It's just some figures are changed around. So basically, it's two examples. They're done the same way, one as the other. So I'm actually going to show my own example, and you're just going to do the same concept for those two. And I'll keep this one kind of short. I know there's a lot going on this week. Um, so Batman Company makes a credit card sale to a customer for $10,000. So I just want to be clear, whenever a company makes a sale to a customer and they pay with a credit card, when we're dealing with individual customers like you and I, that's considered a cash sale, basically. Okay, it's not accounts receivable because the company's going to receive that money from the credit card company right away. Uh, so it's a considered a cash sale. We only deal with like accounts receivable. I just don't want anyone being confused when like we're selling goods to another company, like a big order, and they're not going to pay us for like a month because that's what happens usually with big orders. We have deals with other companies, but when individual customers pay with a credit card, that's considered a cash sale. And I just want to make sure I'm not muted. Good. That's considered a cash sale. But what we do have to worry about is there's a 3% credit fee charged on the account. This might be worded as a 3% service charge for using credit cards, anything like that, any type of charge or fee for credit card usage. And the merchandise that was sold originally cost Batman Company $6,000. So for any transaction like this, you're going to have two journal entries. The first journal entry is to record the receipt of cash and the sales revenue. Okay, you're kind of used to that already, but it's going to have a twist because of the credit card. Then the second journal entry will be to record the cost of goods sold and the loss of inventory. And it's not an actual loss, you're selling it, but now you have less inventory because you sold some. So the first entry is to record the receipt of cash and the sales revenue. So Batman Company makes a credit card sale to a customer for $10,000. Okay, so they're selling these merchandise, these goods for $10,000, but there's a 3% credit fee charged on the account. So let me start here. Our journal entry will be set up like this. We're going to debit cash. We're going to debit. You have a little bit of freedom here. You could put like credit card expense. You could put service charge expense. You could put a service charge. I'll know it is. It's an expense. Something to simplify that we're paying an expense for credit card usage. Okay, so it's actually the company who has to pay. It's uh it's us, Batman Company, who's going to incur a 3% credit fee because we're accepting the credit fee. So this is why sometimes you go to a place and they only accept cash because they want the full amount. Uh, or other places charge you more if you use a card. They're putting on the cost to you. But in this case, with these examples we're going to do for homework, the company is going to pay the credit card expense. So we're going to debit cash, debit credit card expense, and then we're going to credit sales revenue. So now I'll start easy. Sales revenue is going to be credited for the full sale amount. So whatever the problem says the sale was for, $10,000 in this case, that's what we credit it for. Don't get it confused with what the merchandise was originally cost us. Okay, that's going to have to do with the cost of goods sold. So we made a sale to a customer for $10,000. Now, normally we would just receive $10,000 cash, but there's a 3% credit fee charge. So actually, we're going to debit cash the $10,000 less the 3% charge. So if over here I do a calculation, I'll keep it simple. We're going to do $10,000 multiplied by 10%, not 10%, 3%, and that's 30%. 0.03, I'm sorry. So 10,000 times 0.03 or $300. The $300 is going to be the credit card expense. So we're going to debit $300 there. And now we're going to debit cash for the difference between $10,000 and the $300 credit expense. So 9,700. If the math's a little more tricky, you might run into decimals or smaller numbers. Just go ahead and do 10,000 minus the credit card expense, 300. So this is what your journal entry will look like for the first part of the transaction. Now, for the second part, that's where we have to deal with the merchandise that was originally sold, cost Batman Company $6,000. This means when Batman bought this merchandise from a manufacturer, it cost them $6,000 to buy it. So now that they're making the sale, they're going to debit cost of goods sold, which is an expense account. Cost of goods expense, cost of goods sold. We don't put expense at the end, but we know it is an expense account that is tied to inventory. And we do nothing with the credit, the 3% credit fee, nothing here. So it's not really a trick. It's just to help you know, all right, we're just going to do this full amount. So we debit cost of goods sold, $6,000. We credit inventory or merchandise inventory, if you want to add on the word, 6,000 to show that our inventory reduced $6,000. Okay, so this is how you handle these transactions. So you actually have two transactions for the homework. Okay, there's one big long sentence or a few that says this company made a sale to a customer for this much. There's a certain percentage credit fee. Break it down, stop right there, do this first journal entry, and then it'll tell you the merchandise cost them however many dollars. Do the second one. So again, there's two transactions for the homework assignment. Make sure you have a first entry and a second entry for each transaction. So you should have a total of 4 journal entries if you keep them separate. 1, 2, and then the next one, I'm telling you, there's no big change. It's just the amounts change. So it's going to be a debit to cash, debit to credit card expense or service charge expense, credit to sales revenue, then a debit cost of goods sold, credit to inventory. All right, I'll end that here. To keep it brief, let me know if you have questions.